Hey nerdy knitters, Tonia here. Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Knitting Podcast. Settle in with your favorite beverage and your knitting, and let's have a good chat. We have lots of knitting to talk about in this episode, but before we get to that, I just have a few announcements. First of all, a few new design releases. For self-published designs, the bias knit wrap right here and the scarf. Both of those, one pattern, two different sizes. That pattern just came out last week, so I'll have a link down below for that. That uses Alley Cat yarns, her silk linen fingering weight blend, lovely yarn, and surprisingly warm. I took pictures on our recent trip. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary a few weeks ago and just took a short weekend trip about 6 hours from here, just up past Quebec City, on the St. Lawrence River where it meets the Atlantic Ocean. There's a little island there, and that's where we stayed for a few days and just relaxed and sat by the water. We had one very sunny day and I spent a lot of time outside and ended up with a sunburn. But the next day was cloudy and so chilly and windy, but we were taking pictures of the wrap and it was so warm. I loved having it wrapped around me. It really kept my arms warm for the photo shoot, and that is where the name came from for that wrap. I had lots of trouble naming this, and I asked here on YouTube for name ideas and there were so many wonderful ones, but I like to check on Ravelry or just Google it to see, and most of the ones that I really loved had already been used. And I mean, if they'd been used for like just a sweater or just mittens or something, then I'd be okay with using that name again for a different type of project. So I kept a few of them in mind, but almost all of them had been used for shawls and things like that. So I thank you for all of those contributions to the name ideas, but I try not to use ones that have been used a lot. So I ended up not using any of them, and I had quite a few that I kept on my list for a while. But what I ended up doing is naming it after the area we were in. We were in the Charlevoix area of Quebec. So that is where we got the name for the Charlevoix wrap and scarf. It's a very simple pattern. It's just a knit 2 purl 2 rib. I'll put a few pictures here from our photo shoot so you can see what it looks like. Knit 2 purl 2 rib, but it's worked on the bias, so you get the sort of diagonal look of the striping effect of the knit 2 purl 2 rib, and the ends are, or the edges are all done in I-cord, so it's completely reversible. And it would be perfectly fine in any sort of fingering weight yarn that you like. Sock yarn would work just as well, but I really love it in this silk and linen blend because it's so fabulously drapey and light, but still really warm. And so there's two sizes. There's the big wrap, which I really love, and then I also made a scarf size that uses just 2 skeins. The wrap uses 4. So if you have a couple skeins in your stash, you could make like a little bias knit scarf. And if you have 4 skeins, you could do a whole wrap. And it's just very meditative knitting. Just knit 2 purl 2 rib. Pay attention to the edges because that creates the bias shaping, and that's it. So that just released last week. And the other thing on the mannequin is the Simplicity. That's knit in the Sweet George's Flax and Silk Fine, another silk and linen blend. I really love silk and linen and cotton. I love the plant fibers for my summer knits. They're fabulously drapey. I mean, they have a few drawbacks, but I love them for the summer because they're just lightweight and they're nice. And that tee is like the easiest tee you could ever knit. It's just 2 rectangles basically that are sewn on the sides and at the shoulders. And the pattern is just basic stockinette. There's like a mock slip stitch rib for the hem and then across the top. And then another sort of slip stitch pattern worked on the body, so it sort of creates stripes. Very, very simple. So that is just released in the latest issue of Cast On magazine. So that's it for newsy bits and design releases. So I'll have links for both of them down below, well, along with everything else that we talk about in this episode. And in other news, I've finished up Module 2 of the Professional Knitwear Design course through the Knitting Guild Association. I'm finishing up the very last pattern. Everything else has been done for a while, but I'd like to get this in the mail. Or in the email, I should say. I'm not mailing anything with this module, but you have a year to complete each module, and I'm closing in on that. I did most of the work very quickly last year, and then I sort of just did not get around to the last 2 patterns. So I'm trying to get them finished and out the door. I should have it sent by this weekend, hopefully. Now that is it for news, just those pattern releases and where I'm progressing in my design course. I want to get that sent, and then I think I will do the third module over the summer. I'll be taking a bit of a break in August from recording videos, so I might get the third module and try to crank that out over the summer and get it finished so I can have that off my plate and I can move on to some other things, perhaps historical sweater knitting, which is something I'm thinking about, or some sweater classes. I'd like to do some workshops because there seems to be a lot of interest in knitting different sweaters, so I'm not sure if it should be just on modifications for sweaters or like I don't know. There was interest in that too, so I'm still undecided about that, but I would like to do a workshop or a class with people here on YouTube that are interested in like a certain topic, and not quite sure, something sweater related, but either sweater construction or something more advanced on modifications for sweaters. So I don't know. We'll be talking about that coming up, because in the summer months I figured in the next few knit and chats we'll talk about sweater basics like proper fit, swatching, adjustments for larger busts and things like that. So that's all upcoming in the next few months. So if you have any ideas about any workshop ideas where we could work along together on a certain type of project, sweater related, then I'd love to know about them if that's something that's interesting to you. One more thing before we get to the knitting. I love to chat about books here on the Nerdy Knitting YouTube channel, so we're going to talk about some knitting books. And one of my favorite knitting authors, Amy Herzog. Now she's got 4 different books that I really like. 2 I own, we'll talk about in the next podcast. 2 that I keep getting from the library, and I just put them on my Amazon list and will at least be buying. I noticed the Kindle editions are very inexpensive, so I think those will be something I'm going to add to my digital library. Anyway, she also has some classes on Craftsy, all about proper sweater fit, how to make a sweater that will fit you really well. And I've learned a lot by reading her books, and I have been blessed to really get her knowledge, and every sweater that I've knit for myself, besides one when I first started knitting, have fit me fairly well. Some better than others, of course, but just one. It had nothing to do with her. It was just all me. Like, I totally ignored my row gauge, and it was way different than the designers, and it was really obvious. It had short row shaping, and it looked terrible. It was bad. I can't even remember what the pattern was now, but that one was my own fault. But her books are an education in proper sweater fit and getting a garment that is custom fit to your body. So we're going to talk about 2 of the books this week, and then we'll look at 2 more of the books in the next podcast. Now the first one for this week is this book, You Can Knit That by Amy Herzog. This one I really like because it's sort of a workshop inside the book. The first 3 chapters or 3 sections are all about like the stages of your knitting pattern and what to look for, or what to work on, what to watch out for in those 3 stages. Like in the first stage, before you knit, we're talking about gauge and swatching, what you should look for in a good fabric and all of those details. And then while you're knitting, all of the details to look at while you're actually knitting your project. And then after you're knitting, all of those things like sewing things up, blocking, all of the finishing details are in those first 3 chapters. And then the rest of the book is devoted to all of the patterns, which are divided by sort of like sleeve construction. The first one is vests, and then there's integrated sleeves. And then we have all of those other sort of sweater constructions. It's all based on how the sleeve fits into the body or the shoulders or the yoke of the sweater. So you've got like circular yoke, raglan shaping, drop shoulder, set and sleeve. So those are all divided. All the chapters are one of those topics with lots of different sweaters with that specific construction. One more interesting detail, I have knit 1 pattern from this book when I was working on level 2 of the Master Hand Knitting program. One of the projects for that level is to knit a vest, and I chose a vest from this book. And I should have mentioned before, but all of her books, I believe all of these, have a very wide range of sizes. I think it's 12 sizes in each book. Might not be, it might just be 10 in some, but as far as I'm remembering, there is a wide range. Every book has about 10 or 12 sizes. So which is really nice. Sometimes books don't come in a wide range of sizes, but her books do. She's really great about including lots of different size ranges. So here are some of the sweaters that I really like from this book. The first one is the vest that I knit, the corner office vest. Very simple, plain stockinette, but really great basic information. Like her instructions are just really good, and I just love that she has so many sizes, and just classic vest, really perfect for just, I mean, if you want a classic vest shape, then you'll get that here. I like her chapter on integrated sleeves because there's some patterns that you can get, like you can start at the bottom, work your way up, and then like cast on stitches at the underarm to create the sleeve while you're knitting. And she's got some like that in here. Or, well, the one I really like is called the rigging sweatshirt. And this one is knit sort of hem to hem, I think. Yes, in one piece. You start at one end and you work to the other hem, and you're integrating the sleeves as you go. I think that's a really neat construction. And I also really like the entangled raglan. I like sort of that. I think I'd want to make it a bit longer to make it like a tunic length, but I love how she's included the cable detail around the raglan shaping and also right down into the sleeve. I think that's really neat. And I've never knit a raglan in pieces. I've done some top down where you're increasing for the body, but I've never done it where you knit them all and sew it together. So I'd like to try that. And the last one I really like is the Downy cardigan. It just looks so soft and comfy, and I just really like this. So this one's a set-in sleeve, and it's got, I think, mistake stitch rib on the cuffs right there, and then it's got that garter stitch button band. It's got that big sort of cowl neck. It just looks so comfy and cozy. So I really like that one as well. So this book has more of those like sort of almost classic basics that you would want in your wardrobe, which is really nice to have, of course. Now the next book on my list is a little bit different. This one's called Knit to Flatter. Now this one is more about, I love this one for the modifications, but it's more about finding the sweater shapes that look good on your individual body, on your silhouette. I mean, you can wear what you want. There's no really rules about, I mean, there's plenty of fashion rules that people make up, but honestly, we all have different shapes and different things we want to highlight, things we want to minimize, and she talks about that a lot in this book. And it's really useful for that because, I mean, you can see a sweater on a designer, on a model, and think it looks absolutely lovely, but if your body shape is different from theirs, it's not going to quite look the same on you. So it's a good idea to know like what shapes look and feel good to you, whatever those rules are. That you can check out the rules if you want and just wear what you like. And well, she talks about all of those different things in here, like what kinds of things to get you started, like what shapes or what silhouettes, what parts you want to accent or highlight, what parts you sort of want to minimize, and all of that. So she's got all these different designs and then explains which ones works with different types of figures. But what I really love about this book is the sections. There's a couple sections in the back. One is on modifications, and then she tells you how, like, which modifications would be difficult, don't even try, which really comes down to the way the shoulder or the sleeve is added. Again, if it's a raglan construction, don't try to switch it to a yoke. That one actually might not be too terribly hard, but it's still going to require a lot of work. So if you know you hate raglan sweaters, then just don't look at them. If you find one that you absolutely love, see if you can take that stitch pattern and put it on the shape that you do like. But then she takes those, besides like changing the way the sleeve fits into the sweater, all the other modifications like lengthening your sleeves or the body, or adding waist shaping, adding bust darts for bust shaping. She has really great instructions on how to do that and how to figure that out for your sweater, which is something every knitter should know how to do. If you're going to knit sweaters, you want to know how to modify them to make them fit your body really well. Because as much as it would be nice to just take a knitting pattern and sit down and start knitting it and have a perfectly fitting sweater when you're done, that's sort of a dream for a lot of people at least. You're going to have whatever your body shape, you'll have your own modifications that you want to make. Most everybody's going to, and that's just a part of knitting garments for yourself. You just have to decide if you want to just cast on and knit. That's absolutely fine. It might not fit the way you want it to when you're done. unless you do some pre-planning ahead of time. And that is all of that to say that's one of the things I love about this book, along with her thoughts about choosing the shapes and silhouettes and the design details to enhance your figure, but also the sections on modifications are just really, really well written and a really great way to get started on modifying your own sweater patterns to really create a custom fit sweater. So the sweaters in here, along with all of that, it's got plenty of sweaters. There are a few that I really like. So this one, she's got them divided by body type, top heavy, bottom heavy, proportional, other figure features, and then each of those chapters has different sweaters or cardigans that would look good with that body type, and even skirts. There is the oceanic skirt in here. And I really love, she's got a few different wrap style tops. The striper wrap is one of them. I think I want to knit one of those. I'm not sure about that one in particular, but she has a few that I really like. And I've been thinking about knitting a hoodie as well. I haven't done a zipper in a knitted garment, and I have like a cloth cotton hoodie, and it's so old that the color's getting really weirdly faded, so I was thinking I should knit one, and I really like the Doherty hoodie in here. So who knows, I might have to knit that. It's just very simple cables and just stockinette and that zipper. And a hood. I haven't done a hood either, so that could be really fun. So those are my 2 books for this week. Amy Herzog's books, 2 of them. And in the next podcast, we're going to look at 2 more that I really like from her. It's time for the knitting now. First up are a few things that are off my needles. One that I showed you last time because it was done, my Cocoknits cardigan. This is the Emma cardigan using the Cocoknits method, but last month it was just plain cardigan. And then I added afterthought buttonholes and patch pockets. So it's in the finished pile again. And I did some video, short tutorials on how I added those, because that was a new to me technique I discovered about making buttonholes after the fact. And there's a few ways to do it with just wrapping the yarn to create the hole, or even cutting your knitting, which I didn't have to do. My buttonholes came out just fine without having to cut into my knitting, just using some yarn to wrap and create a hole. So it was really nice to add some buttons, and then I also added some patch pockets. So this is in the finished pile again. The next thing in my finished pile is Westbound by Elizabeth Doherty. Here's what it looks like right here. It's just plain stockinette, worked from the top down. It's got like a little slip stitch detail at the front and the back and at the sides. So here is my finished one. I haven't blocked it yet, and I still have a few ends to weave in. I've gotten most of them done. I just have a few more down at the bottom to finish. And some holes to adjust. Where we do short row shaping down at the bottom, I have sort of some, I think it's very, on one side it's more obvious than the other. So I'm going to just go in with like a tapestry needle and just sort of like move some of the yarn away from the hole to minimize it a little bit. But the construction, work top down. So you start on the back neck, you cast on, and then you work the back. And she has short row shaping along the shoulders. And I think it was wrap and turn, but you don't pick up the wraps. I'm like, why aren't I picking up the wraps to do this? And well, later on I discovered, because you come back later, because all of those short rows are made right along that cast on edge right there. Well, after you come back to that edge and you work this lateral braid, which looks just lovely. It goes right across the back neck. And then you work the front sides and do some more shaping, short row shaping there. So just, I love her little, like, she's got really good attention to detail and all like these sort of fine points. And the edges on the neckline and the sleeves were another one of those fine points. There's some slipped stitches here, but what I don't know why I hadn't thought of this before. Like, you can slip one stitch along the edge, which I like to do in garter stitch when it's going to be an exposed edge, because it just looks really nice. Or sometimes you can slip just 2, and one of them will fold to the wrong side, so you get like one stockinette stitch on each side, on the front and the back, or the right side and the wrong side. And then of course if you do like 3 or more, you get sort of that I-cord edge if you're slipping stitches there. But what she's done is slipping the third, I think it's the 3rd stitch, I can't remember now. Like the first 2 are just stockinette, so knitting on the right side, purling on the wrong, and then the 3rd stitch is the stitch that is slipped. And what that does is make those 2 stitches that are on the edge before that slip stitch, causes both of those to curl in to the wrong side of the work. So you still get like that slip stitch edge, but it sort of creates like a rolled edge, but it rolls to the inside. Like, it still needs to be blocked, so. But like it already rolls in right here. You can see like it does need a good blocking right there. But the edges roll in already, so you're getting that slip stitch just along the outside. And the same on the neckline. She does the same thing here, where the 3rd stitch, you can see where I wove it ends right there. The 3rd stitch is the one that is slipped, so it rolls it to the wrong side of the work, those edge stitches. So it just, see, the neckline doesn't have to have stitches picked up and, you know, finish the neckline or whatever. Just slipping that 3rd stitch gives you a really nicely finished neck edge. I really liked that detail, and I don't know why it had never occurred to me that you could do something like that. Just move your slip stitch in a few stitches and that creates a rolled finished edge. So I really like that detail. And then of course she continues that finished, or that slip stitch down, 1 stitch down the back and 1 stitch right down the center on the front, that you're slipping every other row. Then it's just plain stockinette. So it's drop shoulder. The pattern included like sleeve options, and I had done the short sleeve. I'd actually knit it and put it in, and I just one of them and tried it on. Didn't like the sleeve, so I took it off. I just prefer it without the sleeves. Here's a little video of me trying it on. The fit was really nice. I made it a little bit longer because I wanted to wear it with like leggings or something like that. And I used the option for short row shaping at the bottom. So, and then it finishes with an I-cord edge. So really lovely pattern. I just like her attention to detail, like the braid across the back of the neck and down the shoulders is a really nice touch. And that slip stitch edge, it's such a simple thing, but it just looks so neat and finished without having to pick up stitches to finish those edges. So I kind of love that when you get something that looks really nice, but it's actually really super simple to do. That's my kind of knitting. So that's everything that is off my needles. I have 3 projects currently on my needles, not including like stash blankets. I don't even really count those as ongoing projects. I just do them whenever, and eventually they'll get done when there's enough yarn, leftover yarn bits in those bags. So I'm not including those. So I have 3 sort of projects on the go. One of them I can't talk about. It's for a design commission for a magazine that'll be coming out at Christmas. But the other 2 I can, because they are personal knitting projects. Now the first is going to be a felted bag. It looks like just a massive nothing right now. It's just this giant thing. Felting will shrink this way down. I am working on the top part, one of the straps right now. I've switched to seed stitch, and I'm guessing seed stitch is used to add more bulk to this point. That would be my guess. I don't know. I've never felted anything before. So this is something that is totally new to me. So this pattern is the Hobo Tote by Pilon. She has a lot of great felted bags on there. I've got a few more that I'd like to do after I do this one. So the yarn I'm using for this is leftover from my Cocoknits cardigan. It's Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the bulky weight. I think this color is called Spruce. Yes. So I way over purchased the amount of yarn that I was going to need for that cardigan. And I didn't know what I was going to do with all of that. I don't really use bulky weight yarn a lot. And then I just happened to be thinking and Googling, and I found Pilon's bags. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because I have not felted, and I've wanted to do a wet felting project. And I have plenty of yarn. I still have 2 more skeins to go, so I should have plenty to finish off the straps. I've got 1 strap here. Here is the other side of it, so we'll have the straps there. You bind off stitches here, like the button. There's a flap and a button that'll go from front to back, and there'll be 2 pockets over here. So I've got plenty of yarn to get this finished, and hopefully I should have this one finished soon, and then I can decide how I'm going to wet felt it. One of the options is like in just like the hot water setting. Lots of agitation in the washing machine, so I think there's other ways to do it as well. So I'll do a bit of research and decide how I'm going to felt this now that it's almost finished. I still have the pockets to add as well. And that's one thing with like doing something felted. it's giant, like pre-felting. You have this really big mess of knitting, but it'll shrink right down later on. So it takes a lot of yarn, of course, because you have to make it really big. And I wanted to do some modifications because I think I would like this to be wider at the top, but I'm a little nervous to try that because once it felts, it's stuck. It's gonna stay that way. There's no changing it. So any modifications have to be made, of course, while you're knitting, but I don't know how it's going to affect the finished project. So I decided not to do any modifications for this one. Maybe I'll be more brave with my next felted project, but that's coming along nicely. I just have pockets and the straps left to do, and then I can get to the felting. The last thing on my needles is another summer top, Marquise by Jennifer Beale. Now this one is a saddle shoulder construction. You start with this lace panel that's on the shoulders, and then you pick up stitches on either side of that to do the top, back, and front. Then you join to knit in the round, and it's got that color work and some lace on the sides. So this is another case of I picked out the pattern and did not meet gauge. Now my issue here is I knew I wanted 2 summer tops, so I bought 2 sets of yarn, CotLin yarn from Knit Picks in 2 different colors. And then looking at the gauge on the yarn, I just picked out some patterns that had the same gauge, thinking that this was going to work, even though the yarn was different, because I mean, I hardly ever use the recommended yarn in a pattern when I'm knitting for myself, and that usually isn't an issue, but for both of these tops, it's been an issue. And with the other top, we talked about the Westbound. I used a US 6 to get a little more drapey fabric. This one, I went with a US 4, because it's lace, so I figured I could go with the smaller needle size and still get that nice drape, because you could see from the picture that you get those lace panels on the side, and that gives you that nice open feel. And the fabric isn't too bad on the US 4s. The stockinette fabric is fine. It's just not quite as drapey as the US 6, but I'm still not meeting the gauge. I can't remember now how off I am. It's not terrible with this one, not so bad, but my row gauge is really off, like quite a few stitches different. I think it's 6 stitches different. Like, I don't know why my row gauge is so different. But I don't want to change needle sizes. I'm lazy. Like, the fabric is all right for the US 4, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be an issue because we're starting with the sleeves or the saddle shoulder, and that's where row gauge is important. You want this part to be the right length. So I've started, this is where you start with these 2 pieces here, and then you join them together and you start working this panel. So this will sit like right here. So I'm concerned that because my row gauge is so much, I need more stitches to the row, or I have more stitches to the row than the pattern calls for. So I'm thinking that this part, I don't know if it's going to be too small, too shallow, the part that goes on your neck. I'll finish this one and then I'll do the other one, and then I'll see if they're going to fit together. If at that point, I mean, this is where if your gauge is very different, you have to be willing to rip things out and do it again. Or swatch until you get the recommended gauge. But I'm okay with that. If I have to rip it out and do again, this was like just one evening's work. It wasn't that bad. And I don't mind doing it again. It's knitting. I just get to knit some more. So my only concern at this point is because my row gauge is so different that the neck opening will be too small. But I'm not sure. After I wash this and stretch it out, because the lace really does open up a lot, it might be just fine. So we shall see. I have to finish this one side, and then I have the other shoulder to do. And I'm not sure if you join them together at that point. But once it's joined, I can see if the neck opening is going to be too small or not, and just start over if I have to. So this is all I've gotten done so far. So I really love her. I haven't done any of her patterns before, but I have a whole bunch of them bookmarked, and I bought a bunch because she has, I think it's just an ongoing sale where you buy, I don't know, so many, you basically get one free. So I bought that many because I had so many that I wanted to knit, because she has such interesting construction methods. Like, you know, I mean, I've explored all the basics, you know, the yoke and the raglan and the set and sleeve. I've done all of those, but I'm really intrigued by all of these different ways she does things, like in this one where you're knitting just this top of the shoulder first, and then you're picking up the stitches for each side and doing all the other stuff. So that feels like that's what I'm focusing on with my garment knitting right now for myself, is just all these interesting ways to construct things. She has so many lovely patterns. I've got a few more that I want to do, but right now it was summer knitting and I wanted some new summer tops. So I've got the Westbound that I finished, and then now this one, the Marquise. So this is it for progress right now, just that one shoulder. So I've got to finish that, and then the other, and I don't remember what happens after that, but just basic lace, very pretty. So that's it for this one. I also have a few projects that are in the works upcoming. One is a design for Cast On magazine. I'm still waiting on the yarn for that. I'll be using Alley Cat yarn, her Yak Silk DK or Silk Yak DK. I don't know. I'm very excited to try that yarn. I'm going to be knitting a lace ruana. 2 rectangles sewn together, just lace and garter stitch. Really simple, but with really a luscious yarn. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I don't have the yarn for that yet, so nothing to show. And then I also have a design that I'll be starting this summer after I get those 2. I've got 2 other designs I'm working on that have to get out the door, and then another one that will be ready in the fall using this yarn from Biscot Yarns, the Louise Robert collection. Her Dolce yarn. This is 100% cashmere. Oh, let me tell you, I keep just like touching this one because it is so soft. It's lovely yarn. It's just, oh, it's so lovely and beautiful. So for Biscot Yarns, I'm designing a cowl for them using stranded colorwork in their cashmere. So perfect for a cowl. You know, you just want that lovely softness around your neck. So this cowl is going to use stranded knitting, but just 2 colors, not any like Fair Isle bunch of colors, just the 2. But the cowl has like one sort of wavy design on it, and it's going to be knit lengthwise and then in the round. I'm trying to explain it because you wear it like a cowl, but you're knitting it this way in the round, and then those 2 ends will come together and get seamed together. So you won't, like if you work a stranded color work like from top to bottom in one big cowl that goes all the way around your neck, you can see the floats on the inside. You know what I mean? But if you knit it lengthwise, so it's going around your neck this way, but you're knitting it in the round, all of those floats are on the inside, and both sides of the cowl look nice instead of like just knitting the whole circumference this way. Does that make sense? So this cowl anyway, what's going to happen is on one side, like this peachy pink color. What are these colors again? This one's called Epic and this is called Waterhouse. So on one side of the cowl, this will be the background and this will be the pattern color. And then when you get to the second side of the cowl, that's reversed. So you get like a mirror image of the design. This would be the background color. This would be the pattern color. So that is the plan. I didn't pull out my swatch for that because I had swatched it out. I had an idea. I thought about doing with like a gradient yarn, but it didn't work out with that. It actually worked out for another idea that I've got. I just got the yarn for. I don't have it here right now, but next episode, hopefully we'll talk about that. I seem to be in a color work mode now. I don't know why. I don't love doing stranded color work, but I love the way it looks because I love color. So anyway, I've got that ready to go. I'm probably not going to get to that though until I get a few other things finished. Then I have 2 more personal projects that are both colorwork projects as well. The first is the Starry Night socks by Suzanne Bryan. I've had the pattern saved forever and just never got around to knitting them because my foot is wide and most socks like this where it comes in just one size is never going to fit me. But I just love the look of the sock, so I'm tempted just to knit them for somebody they'll fit. I did buy enough yarn if I want to like sort of try to modify things. We'll see. But that is on my list to knit, and I'm just going to use Stroll from Knit Picks, their fingering weight yarn in white and patina. So the original uses like this beautiful blue, but I thought I really liked this pale green color, so we're going to go with those 2 colors for the Starry Night socks. I have no idea when I'm going to start these either. I really want to get my top finished, but I had just been doing ordered some yarn from Knit Picks for these projects and for some giveaway things. so I could have that ready to go for our giveaways. So I just ordered some things that I knew I needed for some projects. And the last project that will be coming up is a pair of mittens, the Trondheim mittens by Sophia Capel. This is another pattern I've had for a while, and I had originally gotten it because I wanted to use up some leftover yarn. I have a stash of Knit Picks palette, which is great for fingering weight projects, for color work projects. I had used it for my Master Hand Knitting program for level 2, the wristlet. I used it for that, so I had lots of leftovers from that. And then I also used it for my TAM for level 3, so I had lots of leftovers from that. So I thought I would have enough, but then when I got the pattern, I realized that you needed almost a full skein of 2 colors for the mitten itself, and then just like some leftover bits for like those cute little houses. So I have plenty of yarn for the leftovers. I didn't have enough for the mitten themselves, so I had to buy more yarn to use up my scrap yarn. I tell you, knitting is really like just this scheme to keep us buying more yarn all the time. So I just got 2 colors. I wanted something to match I have a blue winter coat, so in J and white, so these will be like the 2 main colors for the mitten itself. And then I've got some of that yellow, orange, and red in my stash for those little houses. So another color work project. I don't know what it is, but with color work right now, but it seems like this is where my mind is going at the moment. And I have another order of yarn on the way from Love Crafts with some other things, but that's not here yet, so we'll have to save that for the next podcast episode. So that's everything I've knit, everything that's on my needles, and all of my color work projects that seem to be coming up. Now we have to talk about our giveaway for the month. So this month's giveaway is a few little things from Knit Picks. First is their new Brava Recycle. This is their DK weight. The color is called Lily Flower. Brava Recycle is coming, it just came out this month. Now this is waste acrylic. Basically when the yarn is getting created, there is some waste yarn or bits of fiber or whatever. I don't know how it all works, but all that waste is collected and recycled and put into new yarn. So this is their Brava Recycle. It's 100% acrylic yarn, recycled acrylic yarn. So machine washable, dryable, and all that. Really soft, nice yarn. So you'll get a skein of that. And then the next new thing that is new from Knit Picks is another yarn in their Shine line. So this is Shine Multi. I love the colors in this one. So this is Gumdrop. It's 150 yards, 100 grams, worsted weight. So Shine is a blend of Pima cotton and modal, I think from beech, yeah, from beech wood. So modal is, I think, like a rayon, basically. Like it's the same sort of process done with beech wood. So it's really nice and drapey. Is this top? I don't know if this is in, no, this is in Comfy. I don't know. This is in one of those like cotton modal blends, I think, and it makes a really nice summer top. Good for dishcloths and things like that too. So what's really cool is you could combine the multi one with some of their solid colorways, because all of these colors that are included in here come in a solid skein as well. So if you want to like mix a variegated with some solid colors, you could mix it with the same exact colors that are in this skein. So this one's really soft. I really like their cotton blends. I like their plant-based yarns, their Knit Picks plant-based yarns. They're really nice, and I love them a lot for summer tops. Well, you can see that I'm wearing one. This one is knit in maybe Shine Sport. I can't remember. It's one of those cotton yarns from Knit Picks. And then I've got CotLin for 2 more summer tops. I really like their plant yarns for summer. So you'll be getting a skein, this skein as well. And that's new this month as well. Like the Shine yarn has always, I mean, I don't know how long it's been available, but they've had it, you know. But the new multicolored one is new. So along with that, I was doing a bit of shopping, picking out some cute little things, and I really liked this little Emergency Fix stitch marker. It's on a key ring. It's just a 2-sided little crochet hook for picking up dropped stitches and things like that. So that is going in your little giveaway package as well. I thought it was really cute. And then a tiny little pin with a couple skeins of yarn and some knitting needles, and it says no skein, no gain. I don't know if it's going to show up. There it goes. That was from my local yarn shop here. Well, one of them in Ottawa. My husband picked it up when he was there last time. And I already have one on my knitting bag, so this one is going in the giveaway. So 2 skeins of yarn from Knit Picks and their little fix-it tool and a little pin. Here's how you enter this giveaway. I'm going to put up a page from Knit Picks right now with all of the different color options for Shine Multi, and I'll show some different colors here and just tell me which one looks like lots of fun to you. That's all you have to do. Leave that in a comment down below. Tell me which color you like, and you'll be entered into the giveaway. It's open worldwide, unless sometime it's insane amount of shipping to ship something somewhere, but so far it hasn't been too bad. So just leave a comment like that. And for the fine print, YouTube is not sponsoring this giveaway in any way. This is something I'm doing myself. The yarn comes from Knit Picks. They send it to me as an affiliate, not specifically for this video. I'm allowed to do with whatever I want with the yarn. I'm choosing to give these 2 skeins away in this giveaway. And the little pin and the fix-it tool I have purchased myself. Well, my husband purchased the pin. But so just to be fully transparent about that, so technically I guess I'm the sponsor for this giveaway. So just tell me which color you like. It's open worldwide. And next week on Wednesday, May 31st, I will choose a winner. I use a random YouTube comment generator. I just plug in the URL for the video, and it tells me which comment to pick, and I pick one that talked about the color name, and that is how we choose a winner. So make sure you have notifications turned on for comment responses, because I've had it happen twice now where I have left a comment. I'm the only one who can leave comments with the word giveaway. I have my filter set, so you're not going to get spam comments from people. Nobody can use that word except me. Otherwise it will go like to a filter where I have to approve it first. So if you see Nerdy Knitting and it says you've won the giveaway, email me at hello@toniaknits.com, then that's legit, it's me, and I'm contacting you. But twice now I have left that comment and people did not respond. I give you 24 hours, I usually let you have 48, but I can't let it go on forever. I have to choose a winner. So twice now I've had to like select new winners because somebody didn't respond. So make sure your notifications are set so you'll know when you get a reply to a comment. And that way you'll know that you won, and you can get back to me, give me your mailing address so I can mail you your package. I'm not going to do anything else with your mailing address, just mailing you your package. That's it. Not trying to spam you or anything like that. So all of that to say, this is the giveaway for the month. We've got another one planned for next month. I don't know if we're going to continue doing these all the time because, I mean, it does cost money. Some of the yarn I get for free, some of these things I pay for myself. I pay the shipping expenses myself, so we'll have to see about that. What's going to happen with that in the future. But anyway, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today with your knitting and chatting about knitting with me. And if you're new here and you want to continue watching past episodes of the podcast, I'll put a playlist right here so you can continue watching, and I'll see you in the next video.